Hello, everybody. Welcome into Talking Fitchburg on this Tuesday, April 12th, 2022. I'm Jeremy Crosby. Hope you had a wonderful day, enjoying the nice temperatures while it lasts. Got some storms that will come through the area tonight, and then better chance for severe storms tomorrow. In light of that, I didn't think we would be running our severe weather awareness rerun, I should say, until our first severe weather outbreak. Didn't take more than a week or less for severe weather to roll into the area. So we'll recap that. I had a discussion last Friday with Tim Hallbach from the National Weather Service Milwaukee Sullivan office. He was sharing some tips on severe weather. So we'll discuss that today on the show. Plus, a little bit later, we'll check in with the Department of Ag, Trade, Consumer Protection. And we're talking about storing. So if you're someone who takes all that winter stuff, or some, you maybe alter, right? You put your winter stuff in storage and then bring your summer stuff out. Want to make sure that you pick out the right place if you're choosing a new storage place, or maybe you're storing with a friend. There's things to consider before you store that stuff to make sure it stays safe. And if something happens to it, you're prepared. So we'll talk about that coming up with DATCP. But first, let's jump into the headlines. Start with Fitchburg Police Department continuing to work on their police feedback, and I want to give you an update on that. So, as professional policing or policing organization, the Fitchburg Police Department is committed to continuous improvement and alignment with the contemporary standards and best practices in an effort to continue this delivering a high level of service to our community. We have determined a thorough review and update of our policy and procedures is top priority for the department, as well as the manual provides a set of expectations for department members and better informs the community we serve. The latest policies that hit up that they're currently looking for you to review are right here. So you've got the administration section, general operations, patrol operations, traffic operations, investigation operations, equipment, and personnel. Each chapter contains multiple policies. So when you're on the website, you'll click on the link. These are all lit up. And then you can review the policy within the chapter and click to navigate to the specific policy. So get in there, review those. They have the other policies that have been reviewed. So if you're curious on getting feedback to the police department, go to their website. We'll share the link for you when we post up our headlines. Got an event coming up for you, and it's the tree planting event, Arbor Day tree planting. We've got two different ones happening. This will be happening on Saturday, April 30th. And the first one is at Quarry Hill Park at 9 a.m. Meet at the gazebo. We'll be planting trees and shrubs in the park to replace the ash trees that were removed due to emerald ash borer and provide nesting habitat for birds. And then Chicory Meadows at Park at 9:30 a.m. You'll meet at the gazebo, where we'll be planting native shrubs to replace the honeysuckle and buckthorn that were removed last winter. Those funky names also don't sound really like good things to keep anyways. So glad to get those out and put some new stuff in. If you're interested, this all again, April 30th, 9 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. at both of those parks. All right, healthy spring. We want to make sure you stay healthy, and I've got 6 ways to help you feel healthy as we work through the spring. This is where you're always like, oh, maybe I could do something better, right? Well, start with protecting your skin this summer. Make sure you use SPF 15 plus sunscreen when you're going outside. Stay up to date on your vaccines all year long. Eat healthy foods. Now, I always, when it gets warm out, to me is when I start to really double up on the fruit. I don't know why, but it just always happens that way, especially the watermelon. Watermelon and summer go together like P&J, I guess, which is probably not healthy. But anyway, rethink your drink. Substitute those sugary drinks with water. It's better for your teeth. And drinking a lot of water is good for you anyways. Exercise often. Get at least 150 minutes and weekly of physical activity. That's 30 minutes a day, 5 times a week. That doesn't sound so bad, right? And finally, get more sleep. Sleep at least 7 hours every night to stay healthy. Those are easy tips. Easy spring tips to get healthy. Finally, sticking with the health, we'll talk about the COVID-19 update for the state. Still seeing things in the high range as far as it goes, as in the update to note. Today's 7-day average is still being affected by the backlog of results from external reporting sites, which we told you about last week. The backlog has been cleared, but that has affected the 7-day average, at least for the next 2 days. The number of new cases reported today is accurate representation of the new confirmed cases reported yesterday. What does this all mean? Well, they had a backlog of some cases that they're still getting in there, and they're combining that with the new cases. Again, 56 counties still in the high range, and we have some in the medium. We did have a couple in the low. That has since gone away. So keep in mind that we still have high levels of COVID. So keep practicing those safety things like getting vaccinated, 6 feet apart, and of course, masks when you can. All right, that does it for our headlines. Coming up next, we open up our digest. We're going to be talking about severe weather awareness, talking about the different hazards as we prepare for our first big weather events coming up the next 2 days. That's next right here on TF.
Severe weather can strike anytime, anywhere, but there's a simple way to stay safe. Hey, Jim Cantore here. I stay safe in dangerous weather by planning ahead. You can stay safe too with a few easy steps. Build an inexpensive kit with supplies for your family's needs. Write down important information like phone numbers and medications. Always talk with your family and remember any pets in your planning. Be ready, be safe. Start your plan today at ready.gov/plan.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us.
Ready!
That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu. And especially this year, no one has time to get sick. Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you too.
Well, welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. We're here with Tim Halbach from the National Weather Service, graciously taking some time here to be with us today. And we're going to be talking about the safety. So all this week during Wisconsin's Tornado and Severe Weather Awareness Week, you've have been discussing different safety aspects daily. So we're going to go through those ones really quickly. And we're going to start with the warning. We kind of talked a little bit about it in our first segment, the warnings. But maybe to point it out, the impact-based warning levels. I thought it was nice that you shared that this year because you don't always look at that. You're just like, well, it's a warned storm, so I'll just take cover. And that should probably be the stance. But here's some criteria to help understand a little bit more of what's going on.
Yeah, every tornado is created differently. So there are certain ones that, if we're not seeing a very strong rotation, it might be looking like it's more on the lower end of the scale, maybe not as pressing for, potential for injuries and loss of life. We want to talk about that tornado a little bit differently than if, say, we're seeing a Barneville type tornado on radar, where those situations are, all right, we need everybody to know that this really bad situation is about to unfold for this city. So this is a scenario like if you know somebody that's in the city and they're not taking shelter, like you need to help, like send a text to a friend to say, hey, just checking in to make sure that you're in your shelter, that kind of stuff. So for tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings and flash flood warnings, we have 3 levels that we go to for each of these warnings. Tornado warnings, there's a base level, and then considerable and catastrophic. The highest end is considered a tornado emergency. For severe thunderstorm warnings, which is new as of last August, the baseline severe thunderstorm warnings, there's considerable and then destructive are the 3 levels for that. So going from 60 miles per hour to 70 miles per hour to 80 miles per hour, and then different hail sizes as well. For flash flooding, same thing as with the tornado warnings, base, considerable, and then emergency, catastrophic level type flooding. So just talking about warnings in different levels to try to make sure people know kind of the severity of the actual weather.
Yeah, and you can kind of, when they put the updates out, that when you click the button and the information starts to drop, that's showing up on your website and on the weather radios. Is that correct? Plus what the meteorologists read on the TVs as well.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll see if you click on the warning, you actually read out down at the bottom, there's some tags where you can see what level we're at. And some of the verbiage in the warning itself will kind of change too, to say, this is a particularly dangerous situation. You need to be in your shelter. This is a deadly tornado, that kind of stuff. So you'll start hearing kind of that heightened sense of, all right, this is kind of freaking me out. I need to make sure I'm where I need to be. So, we're not trying to freak people out, but we're trying to kind of say, this is where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's good. It's the transparency on it is really good. I think to understand a little bit better what's happening at your office, and as you're trying to put together your plan and putting it into action. So pretty good info. Moving on, Tuesday, you talked a little bit more on the storm damage side of things, the sizes and that sort of thing. Overall, you've seen a lot of things because you go out and actually do survey damage, which I would love to take along with you on that one just to understand what you're looking for and understanding the power of Mother Nature, which is pretty crazy. But start with the winds, strong winds, and what that kind of looks like from severe thunderstorm to tornado.
Yeah, so with damaging winds, this is the most common type of severe weather that we get in Wisconsin. And there's a lot of times where people are like, well, that damage had to have been a tornado because, wind can't do that. Well, tornado is just a wind. So straight line winds they can be worse because it's over a much more widespread area. So you might be talking all of Dane County as opposed to a tornado which carves a path through just a small portion of it. So not to kind of diminish tornadoes, but sometimes straight line or downburst winds get thrown to the side as not being as big of a deal. If you're outside during a straight line wind or downburst wind type event, the people that are most susceptible to something from those types of winds would be people that are camping. A lot of times you'll put your tent right underneath a tree because it's the middle of summer and it's hot and you want some kind of shade. If the wind comes up and that tree falls down, your tent's not going to be able to hold that back. So that's something to think about if you are camping, to know where the shelter is if a severe thunderstorm warning were to be issued. So that's the most common type of severe weather that we have here in Wisconsin.
Turning our attention to flooding, which is again becoming we hear a lot of flooding things. We had our big event a couple of years ago here in Dane County, but flash flooding, very dangerous and takes a lot of lives across the U.S.
Yeah, it's the most common way from thunderstorms for people to be injured or killed, unfortunately. A lot of times it's with people that are driving through flooded roadways where they see this low crossing and they're like, it doesn't look like a whole lot. I'm just going to go drive through that. When they don't know underneath that pavement is completely gone. So as soon as you hit that water, poof, your car or truck is in the water and you're at the mercy of that flowing water that's going by. Sometimes it might look like the road is there. The cement slab on top might all still be intact. But if there's a culvert, the water will kind of rush through and kind of blow things out. And your car or truck being on that all of a sudden is going to be what's going to collapse it into the road. So unfortunately, that's how a lot of people drown because of those driving through a flooded roadway like that. So we don't want anybody to have to go through that. And like you said, people in Dane County were familiar from the heavy rains from 2018 when we had like 10 to 15 inches of rain in a short amount of time. So that's a classic flash flood type situation.
And I would love to just pick your brain on the drought situation that we're in, and how would that turn into flooding? But we'll save that for another episode of asking random questions by Jeremy. Turning to Thursday, and we talked a lot about the tornado stuff. Maybe important from some of the when you're out doing some of the survey damage and you're talking to folks, are people getting to their shelters and finding ways of shelters and having stuff there to protect themselves? So more than just even getting to the shelter, they have blankets there, they have a safety kit. Do you ask some of those questions when we're looking at the severe weather?
Yeah, we actually heard something really great from a family in the Concord area from it was the overnight, the July 28th into the early morning of July 29th. We had some tornadoes in Dane County that night as well. Some people in Concord, where we had a little bit of a stronger tornado go through, they had heard the forecast that there was going to be severe weather and potential for tornadoes overnight. So what their family did was have a sleepover party in their basement when they're like, well, we don't want to wake our kids up in the middle of the night because they might be kind of a train wreck. Like, let's just put them down in the basement. We'll have like board games and we'll go to sleep down there, and we'll just ride it out down there. And their house got hit by the tornado. And if they had been up on the upper level where the kids would have been, there could have been, some injuries or something like that. But they were playing it safe. And I think that's something that I learned from that. I'm like, I think that's a great idea. I did that in December when we had the storms coming through in the middle of the night. That I know my kids don't sleep well when it's very windy. So why not just, sleep in the basement if you have that kind of situation? So a lot of the other questions we get are with people that are in apartment complexes or that situations where they might not have a basement. And just what we tell people to do is just put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and try not to be in the highest level of the apartment complex. You might not have to get, all the way down to like a below ground shelter, but as long as you're not in the top level, because it's typically the roof is the first thing that goes if a tornado comes through. So get as many walls between you and the outside, stay away from windows, and not be in the top level of that apartment complex.
Fantastic. Finally, and we never leave enough time for this, but I think is a growing trend is just the heat, and a heat emergency is so severe, because a lot of times it's this big burst of hot air that just sits on us for days in and days out. And that's when we get in trouble. So where do you start with heat safety and talking in Wisconsin?
Yeah. And, people might kind of scoff, wow, it's been so cold. Like, why do I need to worry about that? Well, this is actually the time of year where we might not have heat advisories and excessive heat warnings that we issue at this point of the year. But when we have these extended periods of cold temperatures, and then all of a sudden we get thrown into, people joke that we're going straight from winter into summer. People's bodies have a harder time being able to deal with that heat and the humidity all of a sudden when you're kind of thrust into that kind of a weather setup. So we can have some heat issues even early in the season when, maybe we get into the 80s and it's really humid out. So those are some of the things to start, considering as you kind of get through the spring here and you're doing your kind of the housekeeping is, getting the air conditioners running again and making sure that the storm windows are off, so that if you have, folks that might be a little bit more critical when it comes to the heat, the young ones and the old ones are typically the ones that we kind of say, like, make sure to check on them, make sure that help them out in case they need to put an air conditioner in a window or to get the fans down from wherever they might be storing them for over the winter. So some things to think about with the heat.
All right. Well, our time is running out here. I just want to quickly have you plug where people can find more information about from the National Weather Service, Milwaukee Sullivan, and stay up to date with what's going on. You got a lot of fascinating things I find fascinating, but I think other folks would too. So how can they stay up with what's going on at the weather office?
A lot of our information is online at weather.gov/Milwaukee. Fun fact, if you type in Madison, that'll also get you to our website. Otherwise, we have weather radio. You can listen in on what we're doing, and we have some social media pages on Facebook and Twitter as well, where we'll post updates to that. So you can follow us there as well.
Final question: is that Doppler radar back up on the pedestal and ready to rock and roll?
The crew got their trailer backed up to it right now, and they're pulling their equipment out. So it's looking like pretty soon we'll have that back.
We need it back. It's getting close to the severe weather season. I mean, I guess you picked what time do you pick to replace a radar? But darn, that's been fun to watch. So interesting enough. Tim, thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure. We'll look forward to having you back sometime, hopefully during the summer.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy.
You bet. Tim Halbach from the National Weather Service, Milwaukee Sullivan office. And I say he's a good guy. He just humors me because, again, big fan of weather. So we'll take a quick break, though, and wrap up. You're watching Talking Fitchburg.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us. That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu.
We don't have time for delays.
Ready!
We don't have time for spills.
Next.
We don't have time for setbacks. Let's be real.
Getting the flu shot?
Helps you fight the flu.
Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you, too.
Brandon met a girl on a dating app. He finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving.
She must be a keeper.
Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg, joined today from the Department of Ag, Trade and Consumer Protection right here in southern Wisconsin. And he serves all of Wisconsin. It's Michael. Welcome back. How you doing today?
Doing great, Jeremy. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming back. And today we're going to talk about, I was going to say snowing your storing your snowing or snow equipment all summer long. A lot of people have what they would call the toys, the snowmobiles, the whatever winter equipment. And as things start to wrap up, they're switching over to the boats or whatever else they're doing. But as we're getting ready to put away these things, we're looking for places to store these things. And we got to really think twice before we do that. So today you're here to help us think through some of this stuff as we prepare for those transitioning, if you will. But first and foremost, finding the licensed companies are so important. Tell us why.
Well, I think that very few people in Wisconsin even realize that public warehouses and those storage facilities are licensed, and that there is some protections that they offer if they find a licensed facility. And so the one thing you want to look at is, do they have a license posted? You know, are they registered? And Wisconsin law requires them to put that up. But the key benefit to, well, actually two key benefits to it. You know, the first is any licensed facility needs to go under an inspection by our department. And we'll make sure that that facility is suitable for what they're going to be storing, or that those grounds, they have enough space for how many units they want to be storing. But then also those types of facilities are required to hold a bond or some type of insurance. And that protects the consumer if they're putting something there and that storage facility fails to do what they're supposed to. It gives them that added level of protection that they may not get someplace else.
What are some of the common complaints that you would receive from some of these folks? So is it that they find out that a fire happened or there was damage and they're in trouble, or where do you see the complaints come in?
Well, some complaint, I would say if they were requiring a deposit, they may not get their deposits back, or they're being charged more than what they're supposed to be. You know, the facility itself is usually okay. If you have break-ins and things like that, that's usually outside the contract and what the storage is. But most often it comes down to the paperwork, the contract, the terms, conditions, things like that.
And that's where I'll take my next line of questioning here from here on out is how to go through that contract and some of the things that you should look for as you are going through no matter what type of contract it is. You got to read these over, and if you have questions, you should get them answered.
You're right. You know, the last comment you just said there is the most important one. Oftentimes when we're reading contracts, we're either rushed, or we don't want to look stupid, or we don't want to ask questions to make it look like they might be able to take advantage of us. And that's just not the case. You need to feel comfortable in what you sign. And so if you read something, whether it's in there and you don't agree with it, ask the questions before you put your name on the paper. So the couple things that I would look at is make sure the amount that you're being quoted for, the monthly fees, or if it's seasonal, whatever it is accurately depicted on the contract. You know, it's even human error could be putting an extra digit or extra period, and that makes a big difference. Also understanding the length of when that your terms and contracts for the storage. So maybe you just want it for the season. Well, make sure that that contract reflects it's only for a few months, or how is it going to auto renew? You know, does it automatically renew after that end of the 3 months? You need to make sure you understand all those things so you don't end up paying for a facility you don't need.
If you do get into a contract conflict, so you're trying to get out early, whatever the case may be, what do you recommend first? So if you're like, oh man, I just don't know what to do here. This contract, something's wrong here. And, you know, do I go and talk to him first? Do I pull a lawyer? Do I come to you guys? Like, what would you guys recommend to get the ball rolling?
I always recommend going to the business first and just having that conversation with them. I mean, we always have to remember that they're in business. And so customer service is a priority for most of them. And they want to make sure that they maintain that reputable business acumen. So it also, as we recognize, you know, one bad experience can spread like wildfire. And so there is a motivation for businesses to help make it right. The other, if that doesn't work out, even before consulting an attorney, maybe spending that money, I would say contact us and give us a chance to help you out. File a complaint, explain what happened, give us the supporting documents, and then we'll try and mediate between the consumer and the facility to see if we can get that resolved for them.
Yeah, and how about documenting too? So whether you're getting into a contract or getting out of a contract, everything closes. When it comes to documenting, what are some of those key documents that you want to have on hand during any part of getting a contract, regardless if it's storing equipment to anything?
Well, the key, obviously the contract, you're going to want a copy of that, but also keep a timeline of the conversations you've had and what the content is. Both leading up to the contract and afterwards, because the law differs on what representations are made before you sign and after you sign. So the timeline is key, what was promised, and also if you have any advertisements, if you said, hey, I chose this facility because they were representing, X amount of dollars per month, and when I got there, they weren't honoring that. Those are important documents for us to have as well.
Yeah, and I just see there's so many different storage places that are popping up. Some are heated, some are not heated. Spaces, security. Oh my gosh, I think there's a lot of things that you want to review before you choose wherever you're going to put this stuff. So do your research. If people want to learn more on any of the stuff we talked about today, how can they do so?
I encourage everyone to visit our website at datcp.wi.gov. We have hundreds of resources to help you make sure you're aware of all the things you need to look for before jumping into a warehouse.
All right, Michael, thank you so much for answering all the tough questions today. We appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Thanks, Jeremy. Looking forward to it.
All right, Department of Trade Consumer Protection, check the website out. Do some reviews, too. They have some great information on contracts that I personally reviewed for my own stuff, and it's good information. So check it out, and always do that homework before you get into any contract or involved in anything. It's just so important. We'll take a quick break. More to come. You're watching Talking Fitchburg.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be blood next Thursday.
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day.
I have no time for this.
So
I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
Severe weather can strike anytime, anywhere, but there's a simple way to stay safe. Hey, Jim Cantore here. I stay safe in dangerous weather by planning ahead. You can stay safe too with a few easy steps. Build an inexpensive kit with supplies for your family's needs. Write down important information like phone numbers and medications. Always talk with your family and remember any pets in your planning. Be ready, be safe. Start your plan today at ready.gov/plan.
If you love them enough to suck the snot out of their nose at 4 a.m., then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Wrapping up the show for the day, I want to thank our friends over at Department of Trade Consumer Protection and, of course, Tim Hallbach from our discussion from the National Weather Service last week. Make sure you're ready for that severe weather as it comes in, possibility even tonight, but definitely tomorrow in the afternoon and evening time. Have those multiple ways, have the plans ready. And if you got kids, talk to your kids about the severe weather so they know you don't have to scare them. Just got to get them prepared, right? Have a plan and be ready to go. And you can take us to your shelter on your phone, like right here. Whether it's through social media or our streaming channels, you can watch us right on your phone. We're awesome.